In this video, we're going to explain how to set up default employees, then use those default employees to set up the employees at your establishment. First, we're going to put in our employee ID, which is one enter, other functions, system, then we're going to go to employee setup. As you can see, the install already includes a bunch of default employees that we can just edit and change your setups to be like you want to use for yours. I'm going to pick my default server here, and then I'm going to go edit employee. And pretty much every button in the system you can allow or disallow access to. When setting up a default server, default employees, we don't need to worry about the address and other personal information as there is any. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into order entry. And that'll allow us to set up all the buttons in the order entry part. I'm going to explain to you what all of these do here. Verify dine-in order on service. If that is turned on, the system will display the entire order for dine-in mode before actually servicing it. The employee then can verify that the order is correct and then press service again to send it to the remote areas. Verify print of check. When the employee closes a check or prints a check, the system will come up and ask, do you want to print this, yes or no? Does not use caller ID. If you have a delivery and using the caller ID module, you may not want some of your employees to come up with the caller ID information, as they do not take delivery orders. If this is the case, we will check that off. Then coupons. Are the employee have access to preset coupons, which are preset in the system, or open coupons, which are coupons that allow the employee to set the value of. Now, redeem comeback coupons allows the employee to redeem any comeback coupons that may have been sent to the customer. Comeback coupons would be another section of the training that I'll explain to you later. Miscellaneous button is a button that comes up and asks the employee how much the value of the item. That'd be like a miscellaneous food for $1.25. Other things that the miscellaneous buttons are used for are hash keys and other things like that. Then can they do an open % discount, which allows them to put the value in. Open % by major or major minor again allows them to put the value in, but only for certain major or minor categories. Preset % discounts would be things like a server discount or a seniors discount that are preset. Then the employee would just select it. Then an open dollar discount is a discount by a dollar value that allows the employee to put it in. And a preset dollar discount is a preset dollar discount that the employee cannot put the amount in. Certificate sell and certificate redeemed are gift certificates used to either sell the gift certificate or redeem the gift certificate. These aren't used very often anymore, as most people are switching over to gift cards. A lookup allows you to look up certain items on a menu, like if I have a big cocktail menu, I can use a lookup button to find my cocktails instead of placing every cocktail on the screen. Cancel print allows you to cancel the print to the remote printers. This would be if they make a mistake, they have to re-add something and they already told the kitchen to make it. Normally that would be a manager feature. Delete entire order allows the employee to delete the entire order after it's serviced. This again would normally be a manager procedure, as the item could be made, then the employee could delete it. Tax exempt entire order allows the employee to tax exempt the order. And change tax service and change tax new allows the employee to unselect the taxes on serviced items or new items. Change print can allow the employee to change where the item will print to. An example would be if my pop regular prints at the bar, the employee can change it to print to the kitchen or just turn off printing altogether. Access order buttons allows the employee to use the order entry buttons to begin with. Normally the only time you turn that off would be for cooks or busboys, ones that don't normally ring orders up. Remote inventory is a whole another function. We won't get into that right now. Access to refund allows the employee to refund an order after another day. Normally, again, that would be a manager function. Hold order is used in retail to allow you to hold an order, then ring up another order, then go back to that order afterwards. Default to tabs by employee is used in the bar mode. If that's turned on, only the bar tabs for that this employee rang in will show. If the employee wants to ring up something on somebody else's tab, they can select all tabs and pick it. And change price new or serviced, this definitely is normally only used for the owner of the establishment, as it allows the employee to completely change the price of the item they're ringing up. Delete new allows them to use a delete last key, which deletes an item before it's sent to the preparation printers. Delete serviced deletes an item after it's sent to the preparation printers, which again, you only want a manager to be able to do that. Change course allows the employee, if you're using hold and fire, to change the course of a sales item. So if an appetizer is actually the customer's meal, they can change the course of the appetizer to the meal. Edit other employees' checks allows this employee to bring up another employee's checks to make changes to. Again, that's normally only a manager function. Transfer check allows the employee to transfer a check into their name. That's okay, as they are taking ownership of the check. And can they split an item? That allows them to split an item between multiple people, like a bottle of wine between two people, after it's serviced. Then you can have the system put it on the same seat, or ask the employee what seat the next one's going on. For example, if my bottle of wine's on seat 1 and I say split it between two people, it's going to say, what do you want the second half to go to, the same seat or another seat? Do not print on check will allow them to turn off the item from printing on the customer's check. Again, this is not normally used. The big problem with that is if you say do not print it on the check and it's got a value on it, the check will not add up, as the dollar amount will still be on the check. Then can they combine two tables together or move one table from another place? Can they combine with another employee? Normally that's okay, because if they combine with another employee, then the two tables will be in this employee's name and they have to take ownership of them. Reopen check allows them to reopen an order that's already been closed in case they have to add to it or make changes to it. Example, if they close a check, give it to the customer, then the customer says, oh, can I have another beer? They can reopen that order, put another beer on, and close it. Reopen other employees' checks allows them to reopen another employee's checks. This is normally only used for managers to make corrections. Reopen return delivery. This is normally never done, as once it's delivered they could reopen it and make changes to it. Delete last item allows them to delete the last item before it's serviced, so again that's normally okay. Clear order allows them to clear the entire order if they completely mess it up. Fire next course is another hold and fire feature that allows them to fire another course prematurely. Print check with service. That is if you're in bar mode and you want a copy of a printed check every time they service an order, you can turn that on. So that would be normally when you have a glass in front of the customer and the check's always in it. So if they add to their tab, you service it, it prints a copy of the check, you take out the old one, put it in the new one. Do they even have access to print check, which allows them to print a copy of a check without closing it? If the tender screen is turned on, when the employee closes a check, it'll come up and ask them how they're tendering it. It could be cash, charge cards, etc. Now with Flashpoint, you do not have to put the tender in at the time of closing. If it's a charge card or a house charge, you could always close all the orders to cash, then go in after the fact to put in the charge card. Do not default price on tender. If that's turned on, it will not default to the price of the order on a tender screen, forcing the employee to put in the amount tendered. Close check allows the employee to close a check. Release dine-in with print check. That allows, when you have a cashier environment, as soon as the employee prints a check, it releases that table and puts that dine-in check under the house check screen where the cashier would be viewing all the checks and closing them as they come in. Print number of coupons required on check is used for delivery personnel so that you have a big text on the bottom that says how many coupons they should be picking up. The large total screen is used in fast food in bar mode. It'll show a large price on the screen with a big print button. If you do not want that big price to show up on the screen, you can check that off. Does the employee allowed to enter deposits? Normally that would be a manager only. Flash close with counter order isn't really used anymore, but what that does is stops the system from updating inventory and everything else as soon as you close a counter order. That was used in the past with older computers to close a check faster. Add or edit streets allows the employee to add or edit an existing street that's in the system. If that's not turned on and they're placing a delivery order, they have to pick one of the streets that already are in there. Set delivery charge allows the employee to change the amount of delivery charge on that street or that customer. Enter memo on customers allows the employee to enter a memo on a customer. Again, that is normally only used for managers, and then they can use that memo to say that we owe them a garlic bread or something like that. Now get employee ID after each one of these order modes. If that's turned on, as soon as the employee services or closes an order, it'll go back to the employee ID screen. If it's a fast food environment where that employee uses this machine, you can turn that off. Then they will not have to enter their ID after every order. Then, do they even have access to any of the order modes? Again, if you don't want to give them access to any of the different order modes, you can turn those off. Do they have access to house checks? Allows them to close pickups and deliveries. Game timers, if you give them access to game timers, if you even have them. And cancel or delete games. Normally that would be a manager only function, so they can cancel a game or delete a game without charging the customer. Driver out and open deliveries, that report there allows you to see what drivers are out and see all the open deliveries that are currently in the house now. The remote inventory button, again, that's another remote inventory. That's a whole different system that we will get to in the future. Print deletions, if that's turned on and you do a manager deletion, it will print the deletion to the remote printer that item went to. Example, if I ring up a medium pizza, send it to the kitchen, then the manager goes in and deletes that medium pizza, it will print in the kitchen that medium pizza was deleted. If one discount per order is turned on, the employee can only add one discount to each order. If they try to add two discounts, it'll inform them that only one discount is available. In item help is used for drink recipes, things like that allow you to view what's in them. When I'm done my order entry section, I just go finished. Now, set manager and set employee defaults allows us to quickly set up what we think a server or manager should be able to do. But because every establishment's different, you'd have to go in and change them afterwards. That's just why we normally use our default server, default manager, etc., things like that. Set employee ID allows you to set an employee ID to this employee. We're not going to be too worried about it for our default server. Cash drawer, it says whether or not they have access to any of the cash drawers. If you say access to cash drawers on all stations, it allows them to order or to open the cash drawer on every single station. Or you can say only open cash drawer on station number whatever. So if this employee is set to a certain drawer, you would say only open drawer on station number 2 if that's the station number. Then which drawer do they get to open? Even though we said they have access to all stations, or on a certain station you have to say they can open drawer 1 or open drawer 2, because we allow for 2 different drawers on each station. Do they have access to a no sale button, which allows them to open the cash drawer without ringing anything in? And the clear with subtotal will clear this setting here as soon as you do a subtotal employee. This one will clear it when you do a total employee to drop report. This one will ask you to clear the drawer that when you do either one of these reports. And clear with closeout day will clear all these settings when you close out the day. That allows you to set different employees by the day to different drawers. Callback log, that is used for our one number corporate system. We won't really get into that right now. Exit point of sale, again, that'd be a manager function because it allows them to shut down the Flashpoint software to do other functions. Gift cards. Now with gift cards, there's different kinds of gift card systems, but normally an employee should be able to issue a gift card that allows them to sell it. Void issue would be as if you made a mistake, you can void one that you were sold. Reload allows you to add to a gift card. Again, void that reload. Force duplicate is used if you need to put in 2 gift cards for the same amount. Some systems will not allow you to redeem a gift card for $1 and then redeem the same gift card for $1 again because it'll see it as a duplicate and think you're trying to break the system. Balance allows you to view the balance of the gift card. Non-sufficient funds sale would be if I only have $5 left on my gift card, but the check is worth $10. So I would do an NSF sale for $5. A sale would be to redeem the gift card. And void the redemption. To return a gift card if they bring it back, void the return. Add a gratuity to the gift card, so if I put my gift card through to the value of the check, I can add a gratuity to it afterwards. Process offline is if the credit card software is down, you can process it while offline. And redeem for more than value of check. If you're using our local gift cards, you can stop the employee from redeeming more of the gift card than the value of the check. So if the check is $1.25, they have to only redeem $1.25 off the gift card. When I'm done in the gift card, just go finished. Card admin is used for credit cards. We'll be showing you how to set up your credit card software in a future video. Message board allows the employee to view the message board on the system, and edit message board allows the employee to edit the message board data. Paid out and refund, can the employee do a paid out? So if they have to go to the store and buy a bag of milk or a can of orange juice, they can do a paid out and take that off their money. Now add paid out allows them to add a paid out type. Delete paid out allows them to delete a paid out that's already been put in. And issue refunds allows them to again do a refund. Time clock. Now access to time clock gives the employee access to the time clock function. From there they can punch in and punch out, and that's about it. Edit time allows them to edit an employee's time. That would be normally a manager function. If an employee forgets to punch in, the manager can go in and edit the employee's time to the correct time. Setup allows them to set up the time clock function, which only managers should be allowed to do. Currently punched in shows you who's currently punched in the system, so you can see if somebody forgot to punch in or who's out there right now. Wage cost reports allows you to view the wage cost report. Only current period with wage cost reports will make it so that the manager can only see the current period when they do a wage cost report. So if it's 6 o'clock, it'll only show the 5 to 8 section of the wage cost report. Wage cost log allows you to view every time a wage cost was done and the wage cost at that time to make sure your managers are doing the wage cost report and sending people home when it's not busy. Pay period report allows you to do the actual pay period report to pay your employees. Driver out pay period report is used for drivers so that it'll tell you how much time the drivers were out on delivery in case you pay them by the hour while they're in the house and by the delivery if they're out. Now time clock reports by employee. If this is turned on, this is normally used if you allow your employees to do their own time clock report. What will happen is if it's turned on, it'll only show the employee that runs the reports totals. So if I turn that on and I'm a manager, because normally a manager does not punch in, it would not show any data on that report. The only time I would turn that on is if I give the employee access to do the time clock report. Schedules allows you to add a new schedule and do wage costing for your schedules. Set up wage cost allows you to set up your actual wage cost on your wage cost reports. Allow subtotal while punched in. If that's turned on, the employee can get a subtotal while they're punched in. It's nice to turn that off to make sure that the employee has punched out before they get their subtotal. Print total pay with punch out will print the employee's total pay on a receipt when they punch out. And do not print total pay with time clock reports will hide that employee's pay on the time clock report. Access to print time card will give the employee access to print their time card. And employee gets print time card and punch in and out for system menu. That again would normally be used for cooks and things like that, so that when they try to go to system, all they can do is punch in and out or print their time card. And must be clocked in prior to use will force the employee to punch in before they can even use the system. Employee only has access to time clock. As soon as the employee punches or puts in their ID, all that's going to come up is punch in and out for break, things like that. And employee only has access to time clock. The difference between this one and this one is this one they can print their time card, or in this one they can only punch in and out. And if you want to disable this above 4 selections, we can just go disabled. Inventory, if the employee has access to inventory, you turn it on here. If you only want to give them limited inventory usage, you can turn it on here and then pick which inventory things they can have access to. They can do their on-hand and variance reports, receive stock, review their purchase history, print order forms, etc., etc. Setup buttons, different parts of the setup that you may want the employee to have access to. Normally, again, only a manager would have access to employee setup, menu setup, system setup, report setup, printer setup. Now, access to basic employee setup only will only give this person access to change the personal information of the employee, not what they have access to. Access to menu in stock only. If they have access to menu setup and it's in stock only, all they can do is set whether or not items are in stock. And set basic price only. Again, they can get the menu set up, but all they can do is change the basic price of the sales item. No access to system button. As soon as they hit system, they won't have access to it. And do they have access to dispatch if they dispatch drivers? Do they have access to comeback coupons? Redefine dialogues allows you to change any of your dialogues. So I can just click here and say set design on and change my dialogues. Again, normally that'd be only an owner function. D-Link IP surveillance is if I have D-Link cameras in the kitchen, that'll bring up the D-Link software and allow me to view their IP surveillance software. Access to change menu buttons allows you to change your menu buttons. And this employee can only be edited or copied by the administrator. If that's turned on, no other manager, whether they have access to employee setup or not, will be able to edit this employee and edit or copy them. For our default server, we might be able to turn that on, but normally it's up to you. And when click on check, in order entry, I'll go out there real quick. When I click on the check on the right hand side, I can make the system come up with something, whatever is used most often. For an example, if I'm a retail place, maybe I want the hold order to come up by pressing check. So I just go finished. So because I have that turned on, if I click on the check here, it'll come up with the hold order function. Go back to system, employee setup, go back to my default server, and email. Do they have access to email? Can they send email, print email, or delete email? Normally that's okay, as you're just sending emails between employees. Flash pour is our liquor pouring system. Do they have access to even get to the flash pour system? Can they set up the flash pour system? Normally that's always a no, only for managers. Can they receive stock, and can they balance the bars? Reservations, can they get to the reservations themselves? Can they print any reservations? Can they delete reservations? Can they add a new reservation, and can they edit a reservation? Serial numbers are used in retail. Again, if we have it turned on an inventory item to get the serial numbers, you can store that information. So can they set up the serial numbers? If it's turned on to print serial number information, if they put in the serial number information, it will print on a receipt for the customer. Can they delete a serial number? Can they add a serial number to the system? And can they edit a serial number? Report setup allows them to get in certain reports in the system. First, can they even have access to the report button? Then once they have access, which reports can they do? Now the level reports are when you make your sales mix reports, you can set each sales mix report to a certain level. And then you can turn on different levels by the employee type. For example, if I have certain sales mix reports that I do for my cooks, and I put them to level 3, I can set my cooks to be able to do level 3 reports. Edit report allows them to edit a sales mix report. They can delete a sales mix report or create a sales mix report. Change revenue centers. If I'm using revenue centers, I can change my revenue centers when I do a report. Doc reports would be your daily doc, inventory daily doc, and selectable daily doc reports. Refund and certificate reports. Export to Quickbooks Pro allows them to do an export to Quickbooks Pro. And then which reports they have access to. Only allowed to subtotal himself. If I turn that on, I can turn on subtotal employee and then say only allowed to subtotal self. Then when the employee does a subtotal, they're getting their own subtotal, and that's it. When I'm done going through my reports, I just go finished. Then deferred order. Does an employee have access to do a deferred order? So if I want to place an order for next week, I can go into the deferred orders and place it for a different time. Can they edit a deferred order? So once it's placed, can they go in and change all the information? Can they add more to a deferred order? So a deferred order is already placed, so a customer calls back and wants to add another pizza. Can they delete a deferred order? So that would delete a deferred order right out of the system. Can they place a deferred order? That allows them to place a deferred order to begin with. Can they set the date? Allows them to change a date that's on a deferred order. And can they send a deferred order now? Allows them to prematurely send a deferred order. And can they cost a deferred order? Now when you cost a deferred order, it shows you how much that deferred order is going to cost you. House charges, can they do a charge? Can they enter a payment? And can they set up or do reports on house charges? Frequent customer, can they apply points to a frequent customer? Can they add a member? Can they do reports? Can they set up? Can they put in redemption buttons so if the customer wants to redeem something? And process offline if you're using the corporate software. Declare tips. Do they have access to declare tips? Can they enter shared tips so that if I'm sharing with the bartender or share tip outs or things like that? Can they disable auto gratuities and ask apply auto gratuity? Now disable auto gratuities if I do not want to use auto gratuity on a check at all, and ask apply auto gratuity will ask every time they close a check if they want to apply auto gratuity or not. Force declare tip with clock out will make them declare the tips when they punch out. And check for no auto gratuity on sales items and modifiers. Every sales item and modifier has a little selection on it that says no auto gratuity. Now if I do not want to give my employees an automatic gratuity on certain items, I can turn that on. And print tip totals on employee report. If that's turned on, all my tip totals that I enter in declared tip will print out on my report. If I'm using a front desk system, I can give my employee access to post a room charge, add a gratuity on a room charge, do a credit on a room charge, print a customer or print employee copy of that room charge. Projections would be projection reports that allow cooks to project how many of each item to sell every day. For an example would be, how much chicken do I need to prepare for the day? Set up groups to project allows them to actually set up the projection report. Print current group setups, generate projection. Now, edit today's projection allows you to edit today's projection report and override all the values. Can they print today's report? Can they enter actual prepared? Allows the cooks to enter how much was actually prepared compared to what was projected. And can I do a projection variance report? Can I set up my projection, and can I do a product mix? Again, one number is a corporate software, which is a different training. And my first screen, each station you can set which window you want to display first. I can override that by the employee. So if this employee, I want a different window to come up than what's set on the station, I can set that here. And which order mode do you want to show up as soon as the employees enter their ID? Normally for a server, it would obviously come up dine-in. And then if the employee wants to change order mode, they can just press a different button. First dining room, that's which dining room will come up first as soon as the employee puts in their ID. You can also, the employee can also change that by saying this is going to be my default table room today or whatever. Allow subtotal with open tables. If that's turned on, the employee will have access to do a subtotal while she or he has open tables still. It's not recommended to do that, as the employee might forget to close a table, then do a subtotal and go home and that table is still open. If you want to force your employee to a certain room, you can say employee cannot change dining rooms and put which room you want to force them to. And for our games, it'd be the same thing. So which game room do they go to, and can the employee change game rooms? If I give my employees a cash float, I can enter that cash float amount here and it will be added to their subtotal. And disable in list box. Because this is just a default server that I don't want to show up anywhere, I can say disable this employee in certain list boxes. So when I go subtotal employee, I don't want this employee to show, or reopen check, or do the time clock, or if I'm sending an email, I don't want to be able to send it to a default server. And same with reports and dispatch. So now you won't see that default server anywhere except for order entry or for server setup. Now once I go through and edit all my information for my different defaults, I can add a new employee. To do that, I just go add new employee. If I'm making a new default, I can just call it default whatever, but I'm going to add Bob Jones here. Now this Bob Jones is going to be an employee server. So now what I can do is go set defaults like other employee, pick my default server, say select, and say yes. Now all the information I set up on my default server is now set up on this employee. I can just finish putting in the personal information, its address, city, set an employee ID. This one here will be 25. Re-enter 25, and that employee is now set up. The other possible setups under employee setup are: number one, we can do form letters. Form letters are used to terminate an employee or things like that. So if I can go to form letters here, it gives me a little alert, and I can pick a suspension, a warning, a termination, etc. These ones here are already pre-made, but I can add my own. For an example, if I want to suspend my employee for a dress code violation, I would pick the dress code violation, go issue, pick the employee I'm issuing it to. I issue it to Bob Jones here. And I'll have all my information there where I can print it out, fill out the rest of the information, and give it to the employee. When I'm done, I can say add this letter to the history for my employee. I say yes. Then that'll always be in the employee's history, so I can review my history for Bob Jones and see all the suspensions and warnings that he's gotten. If I want to add a new form letter, I can just say add and type in the information that I want to be on my form letter. If at any place in the form letter I put a tilde 1, that tilde 1 will be replaced with the manager's name who issued the letter. If I change it to a tilde 2, it will be replaced by the employee's name that I'm sending the letter to. The 3 will be replaced with the current date, 4 will be replaced with the current time, 5 will be replaced with the employee's social insurance number, and 6 will be replaced with the employee's system ID. When I'm done making my letter, let me just type one in here. Name, colon, tilde 2. And just put all my other information in. And then it will save it. And when I'm done in here, I just go finished. Tests allow me to create tests for my cooks or my servers, etc. Then I can test my employees to see how well they're doing. For instance, I'm going to do a new one and call it new cooks. Then I can edit the questions for my new cooks. Let's make a new one and we'll say what item is not in a deluxe pizza. And pepperoni, ham, sausage, mushrooms. And which one's the correct answer? Well, the sausage is the correct answer. Finished. I can add another question and keep on going. When I'm done all my new questions, I just go finished. And if I want to test one of my cooks, I just pick which test I want them to do and go test. Pick which employee I'm doing the test for. Go Bob Jones. Now once I select my employee, I can just walk away and give this terminal to that employee and let him go through all the questions. So question number 1, what item is not on a deluxe pizza? We'll say pepperoni. Go next question, it'll go to the next question in the list. Because I only have one question in my test, it's going to come up with enter employee ID. This allows me to walk away from the machine, from the cooks, and then they can't go out and change any information and do other things like that while your ID's in. So I now have to put my ID back in and I can see the results of the test. Because I only had one question, he got it wrong, his mark was 0%. So I can print out that test and go door, or the little thing to exit it, and finished. Now that test will automatically be saved in that employee's history, so at any time if I go back to tests, go review history by employee, select it, I can see my marks and the test that he did. I can also edit this test by selecting it, go edit, or I can delete the test again by highlighting it and pressing delete. When I'm done, I just go finished. If I wanted to delete an employee, as he no longer works for my establishment, I can go delete employee because my Bob Jones is already highlighted. And it'll ask me, am I sure I want to delete him? Yes, I am. Now, if at any time that employee comes back, I can restore that employee. As no employees are ever actually deleted out of the system, their information is held there as you will need it for your time clock totals, things like that. So if I want to restore that employee, I can just go restore employee. A list of all my deleted employees will show up. I pick the employee I want to restore and say restore. And he'll show back up in my list. Reports allows me to do different reports on all my employee setups. So if I want to go in here and figure out what all my employees' IDs are, I would just select employee IDs. And administrator, it will never show their ID because it's a hidden security. And I can see my employees' IDs for every single employee I'd have here. When I'm done, I can just go finished. And if I want to see what order entry setups they have access to, I just go order entry. As you can see, Bob Jones has access to certificate sell, certificate redeem, lookup, etc. It does not have access to cancel print. I can print that out again, or I can just go door to exit. And when I'm done in here, I just go finished and go finished. That concludes the video for setting up your employees.